Hello, Leila. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me in this episode. Could you please just introduce yourself and tell us about your PhD program and where you graduated?
Sure. So I'm Leila, and I'm working as a R&D scientist at GTV Optics in Edmonton. I did my PhD at Queen's University with in condensed matter physics, and then I went to London, Ontario, for a postdoctoral project in Western University. Then I joined the MyTechs program for 1 year in science tech industry company. And after that, I came to Alberta and to this position. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. You and I were group mates before at Queen's University, so I know a lot about your research. But for our audience, could you please explain what you did in your PhD program? What was the research topic
Yeah,
when you were
sure.
at Queen's? Yeah.
So my major is mostly condensed matter physics and optics, and I work with the nonlinear optics settings like optical setups and working with the laser and some material that are sensitive to laser light and creating some holography setups or like some photoresponsive like gratings that can change the direction of the light or like interact with the laser wavelengths, laser polarization, and those kind of stuff. And so mainly it was a linear optics. And then in my postdoctoral, I was working with the Raman spectroscopy. And the idea was that at Raman wavelengths, usually the imaging is very hard. And you have to like apply some sort of very high-tech imaging technology. But the idea for us was that with taking so low resolution images, but using a software named the Rapid Storm, you can get the high resolution images. And that was my postdoctoral project, very scientific. And then I changed to solar simulator industry. I went to science tech industry by MyTechs, doing MyTechs project.
Yep, my text program. Yeah.
And after that time in my career, mostly I deal with a solar simulator. That is an artificial sunlight that we build with specific light source. And right now we are building it with the LED light source. So we choose specific LEDs at each color and we mix them that they mimic sunlight at different position that you are. It can be Earth, it can be space, it can be different altitude, it can be different time in the day. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what attracted you to optics and photonics and condensed matter physics? What was the most interesting thing about choosing this discipline?
So for me, it started from high school, actually. I really liked physics from that time. Physics for me, it was not a science, it was my passion. It was just a lens that you can see how the world is working. The idea that you can learn principle rules, physical core laws, and you can apply that to solve very complicated problems in the like in modern technology in our world. Let's say, for example, if you, I guess you remember, we had some questions like if the like a car goes with this speed and there is some obstacle there, when it should hit the brake that it can reach to doesn't have the accident or something like that. Those kind of very applicable problems from high school attract me a lot to physics. Just knowing that with knowing some rules, you can solve very fundamental equation, very high technologies like sending something to the sky and those stuff. It was very fascinating. And from there, I followed physics. And then in university, I find that light is the most important things in the world. Every day we see the sunlight. Every day we deal with the technologies that are interacting with the light. And there were, at the times that we were doing our undergrad, there were some technologies like cell phones, like different like light displays and those kind of stuff was very emerging, like was very developing. So it was like kind of bridge between theory and application. So I select my direction in this field because it is very near to the application of the physics. You can see the right impact, and that was why I was very interested in physics and light matter in like condensed matter physics typically.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And as you mentioned, so after graduation, you did postdoc, and then you transitioned into your first non-academic role. And as you may know, so the goal of this community that we have built for PhDs is to explore these non-academic careers, because as PhDs, we're sometimes not very familiar with the non-academic pathways and entrepreneurship, for example. And having conversations with professionals like yourself who have gone through this journey, this transition, can help our audience, our community, you know, understand better what to pursue, for example, for what jobs and roles they can pursue outside of academia. And I know that your current role is mostly research based, so this community is both about research and non-research based non-academic roles, right? So let me ask this question: how smooth was your transition from academia to your first non-academic role? What challenges did you face, for example, during interview process, resume building, networking, and all those things? Just, feel free to share your experiences with us.
Sure. So as like all the PhD students, when it was almost to the end, I was panicking that no one will find me. Who knows what is my I am best or like what is outside of academia? Because I was so much in academia. I did a master, I did a PhD and a postdoc. And the thing is that my supervisor at the time told me that really you don't need to find all the jobs. You just need to find one job that suits you. And this really calmed me down. But my path was like kind of rewarding for me because it was from deep academia to very high impact industry. And for me, in my tax, it was very helpful because I joined the company and I can see how it's working in the company. I did mostly the company related works. I started like I have done some solar simulation before, like not simulation before in academic. Like it was basically theory, but right, I had to translate it to the application in industry. And I came to see that how you bridge from science to like engineering. Actually, my role in entirely in my career, it was translator from the science, from the physics to the engineer's works. So I look at the subject and I see, okay, what is the problem? I solve it in matters of the physics laws, what physics laws can solve this, and then translate it to the engineering team. And that was my main path. But yeah, I have done lots of application as like other PhD students, and sometimes the application was going very well, interview was very well. I mean, few interviews behind each other and pass, and I say, "Oh, I will get it," and then suddenly, no, you didn't get it. Someone else will get the job. But the point is that. Usually the industry needs specific skill sets, and sometimes some people has a bit more experience or more suit their company than other people. It doesn't mean that we are not fitting their requirements. It doesn't mean anything less about us, but it is everyone has specific standards in their company, and they based on that they get some applicants and qualify against each other. So patience is very important. We have learned a lot in PhD. PhD biggest things that we learn from PhD is patience. You have to like put your effort and apply science and gather data, but would it result in good results? No, not always. You have to be patient and see what is the resources and how you can like break these boundaries and achieve your goals. So applying a job also is like that. You have to be patient, apply some positions, and finally you will get a job that is more suit your condition. And it is not just about technical, it is about so many other stuffs that it have to be like achieved to reach that position.
Okay, awesome. So, did you reach out to people, for example, to refer you to, new jobs, or it was just online application? So, when you landed your first non-academic role, did you
Yeah.
use referrals or you just used online applications?
So a kind of combination of two.
Okay.
For example, my postdoctoral project was because my PhD supervisor speak about me and about my research in front of the other supervisor. So he told me there is opening. So I applied and I get this after some interviews. And my postdoctoral supervisor also tell me about the my tax opening and like that, and I get that opening. But for the job, I was searching online. My fortunate was that my field, the things that I was working on that company as my tax, it was
Mhm.
directly related to what I am doing right now.
Mhm.
So the company was happy, I was happy that we find each other.
Okay, awesome. So, and uh, what did you learn about, for example, resume building or cover letter writing, and dealing with during the interview process? So, what were the like typical questions that HR, for example, asked you, or the hiring team asked you, and how did you deal with those things? How did you adjust your approach moving forward? But as you mentioned, basically you have gone through multiple interview processes, right? So, can you share a little bit more about that process, the interview process, resume, cover letter? So what did you learn?
Yeah, so at that time I was learning mostly from LinkedIn, and I was sometimes I was attending some technical conversation or workshop from university to about
Mhm.
how to build resumes and how to improve it. Maybe nowadays people can use AI instead of what we were used to use previously. But the resume building is very important, and cover letters as well. And that is to say that you have to read the job description and you have to kind of relate it. You have to use very nice vocabularies, very technical related stuff from your resume. For example, you can say simply troubleshooting, for example, the setup, but also you can say optimization is set up for like better result or something like that. So there is definitely a difference between those, and especially for very big companies, the process involves some like software, like checking the resume, and it checks for the keywords in your resume. So it is very important to understand that aspect. And I think there are so many resources right nowadays in LinkedIn, in YouTube, or even AI can probably help about that. And that was about the resume. What the other? I forget the list of
Yeah,
questions.
interview process, the
Yeah,
the
interview process.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, questions. Okay. So in the interview, like let's be honest, there are some questions that we think that it is meaningless. For example, someone will ask why you are applying to a job because I want to find a job. So that is the clear answer. But anyway, that is a policy that you have to prepare for these kind of questions as well, and that is a common questions. Even so, it is repeated, and everyone knows what is the answer. But putting your effort towards to like thinking about those kind of questions, it says to company that you're trying. It's
Mhm.
not like a lazy answer, but you are trying. So general questions can relate to your not very scientific background, but main or like technical background. It is mostly about the behavioral questions, how you deal with the team, how you work individually. And while you're asking question and you're answering, they also look at your behavior, that how you're like very proud, very like
Mhm.
humble or something like that. So your behavior kind of, you have to be relaxed, get away from the stress, and it is not just one job, and you will feel free, like feel stress less. I mean, like be like when you are talking to technical person, but you are talking someone as a general as well. Like you have to be journalist. You have to be able to translate very high tech to like sale team, to production team, to like those different departments. So, like being able to speak in a general way is also very important for the company. The
Mhm.
other thing is about mentality. So in this university, we learn foundation. We learn how to go to deep, find the solution for a specific problem. And in company, on the other hand, it is mostly about not about why and how what happened here. It is mainly to answer this question, that how you can create some process that it works 100 times, it works for 1,000 hours, and it is scalable, it is reliable, those kind of things. But as in the interview, accountability is very important. It has teamwork, individual work, being respectful, and your expectation as like what is work with other people means to you. Those kind of things are important.
Okay, great. So, what skills from your PhD training proved most transferable in professional environments outside academia? Like, I know that your role is mostly research-based, but what other transferable skills did you bring from your PhD to your non-academic job?
Actually, so my PhD research is quite different than what I'm doing right now. This kind of
Mhm.
research is a bit quite different. But
Mhm.
the most important thing is that maybe I wish someone told me that we
Mhm.
call ourselves specialists in some subject, in some direction. That is kind of disvaluing other skills that we have. The main skills that we take from PhD, it's not specific directed technical values, but it is like a task management, that you were able to manage different steps to solve the bigger picture.
Mhm.
Like to solve to relate A, B, C to get the final results. The other important, very important skill is that through your PhD, we teach us that how to learn new things. For example, every time there was some new subject, okay, there wasn't always a course for that new subject. You have to learn that you go to the Google, to the different literature, and review about that and read about that and learn fast. Companies needed that fundamentally, like they needed, for example, there is some time that some device doesn't work. You have to learn another different method. You have to learn scripting. You have to learn simulation. You have to learn some other aspects. But the PhD or like university graduated student mostly, they have the ability to train themselves very fast and reliable. That is the other skill that it is very important. In other skills that was very, very important, it was, I think, about the data analysis. So when you like do some measurements or like do some simulation, whatever, you get some results, but not always the results are meaningful. And there are some patterns that some data is good, some data is not good. You have to have ability to capture the good data from the bad data and say what is more important, like what is giving the meaning. I mean, And so that is one of the, I think, three main skills that from PhD to industrial position, it helps a lot.
Thank you. Basically, you touched on a couple of things briefly. I'm happy you did that. So the very first one was the communication. So translating super technical stuff to non-technical people, like business people, as you mentioned, people in finance, for example, or a CEO, or people like that. So that's one important thing that PhDs don't learn in academia. So and that's communication and also adaptability. So you need to learn how to adapt to new work environment, because in academia everybody is like, people are very similar, right? They speak the same language, but when you walk out in the real world, so you deal with different people, not necessarily technical, as you accurately pointed out. The other one was what you mentioned was the search skills, like the ability to find information. As you mentioned, that may not be exactly related to your research, your PhD research, as you said, but finding relevant information, things that matters the most for the business, right? For that specific job. The other one was analytical skills. So for the analytical skills, did you have to learn like some new software or new hardware or things like that? Because you said that your current role is not exactly what you were doing in your PhD program. And when you transitioned, for example, and you started the job, okay, had you previously seen those types of software or tools and techniques in your PhD, or you learned after you started your role? And how did those things impact your employability, for example, and then adaptability when you transitioned? I hope my
Yeah.
question is clear enough.
Yeah, of course it is. And it is one of the very relevant questions.
Okay.
And I have to learn new things kind of everyday base in my job, I can say. And in this era of the AI, like learning new software and other stuff is very fundamental for my position, for example.
Mhm.
And when I was at university, so university mindset is quite a bit different. It is like you build up a setup, maybe even with a tape. You make something work. You get that result and go to publication, and that is done. But in the industry, you have to make something work hundreds times, so many times, and like for so long hours and those kind of things. And so for me, for example, I didn't know how to use, I mean, I was familiar with optics. I was doing some courses like simulation, but I wasn't using as daily base. It was just for one project, maybe like one course, something like that. I tried to learn two software that it was for like for the simulation and optical simulation, I mean. And so at the time, I remember that my CEO or my like my manager was saying that some people don't like to learn the optical related like work or something like it is a bit high scientific, some sort of like that. But it wasn't like that bad. I can see nowadays that some other people, even without PhD, they try to learn these tools, and everyone can learn it. So I learned those softwares at the first, and I was slow at the beginning.
Mhm.
And main things that helped me because I didn't know the physics behind the light, for example. I know that what is point source, what is diffraction, what is the lens, what is the mirror, some those kind of stuff. So I use those stuff in my simulation, those science, and to verifying that what I'm doing is correct. And then I transform from that just using a software to building a software that it can do that work, or writing a skill like scripts that can do calibrate the device for a specific. So I can use this script 1,000 times or different situation, even if the initial condition is different, I can modify it. So it was like a long path. It doesn't happen one day. But yeah, I needed to learn new softwares, and after that, like getting more familiar, I was able to see how that software itself works and how I can create that something that it is working in a similar fashion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So by building the software, you mean writing codes and things like
Yeah,
that?
I'm not the software. I mean, the software,
Application, for
yeah,
example?
the code, yeah, scripts that automation that I needed to do, and yeah, through the Python scripts, for example.
Okay, excellent. So in building that, you worked with engineers, I assume, right? You're engineering in your on your team. Is that right? So you worked with different people. Did you do it alone or you worked on a team, basically, to build the software?
So the company that I'm working, most people are electrical engineers, and we have few people in the optics or like physics. And I mostly was working with of course, my work was supervised with my supervisor, and he was also in physics, and he was doing this job himself, and he was like teaching me, or not the teaching how to use this stuff, but it is teaching the some basic ideas that how I can start from there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And because we are there, let me ask you this question as well. So when you are given like some specs and some requirements, how do you translate those specs and requirements into actionable items, for example? So for example, some people work on a team, so they're given specific tasks or requirements and specs, and some people are all alone, right? So this question is more toward your like project management skills. I'm not trying to interview you,
No,
okay?
no,
Just
that
trying
is a
to
good
help
question.
our
I'm laughing
audience.
for it.
Yeah, I'm trying to help our audience understand. So when, especially PhDs who haven't graduated yet and they haven't heard of these things at all, right? I know these things look very normal to you, a professional like yourself, but we try to make the conversation very educational, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's the question is more about your project management skills. When you're giving like specs, requirements, and things like that, how do you take those things and translate them into something that you can work on? Maybe creating like work breakdown structures, or a list of items that you wanna take and build, right? As a software, as a piece of like hardware, for example. How do you deal with those things?
So to tell the truth, that part was maybe some space that I had a difference from the engineering. Engineering, they know it, like maybe they had more experience in the company. But at the time, like selecting the task and the task management is very important in the company. It is fundamental. It is, you have to write down that you will do this task at this specific time and you will do it and like that. But PhD mindset is quite different. PhD mindset, it goes from subject to subject to solve the bigger problem, and I was having that problem during my job that still I'm learning. And I was laughing to your question because recently my supervisor have given me a book that exactly it is about this topic, and it is getting things done. And that in that book you learn how to manage your task. And in company we have some smart goals. My smart goal with this period of time is a task management. I will learn more about task management. The idea is that you have so many works. It is not just one subject, like a PhD. It is so many works, and each one has a specific requirement. Each one has a specific actionable things, and priority is different. Yeah, I mean, today priority is this project. Tomorrow is a different project. and you have to manage them. You can use some software. I'm recently learned to use Obsidian. Like I write down what is the project, why I am doing, what is the next action. I'm putting time there, and every day I have it like remind me what is your action today. And I see that which one is more important or what is the priority in the like company. I go to that action and then delay the other action that I have and like it's not important right now. Because in company, sometimes like it is a production and needed this done today. No matter that you had very other priority, this should be done today because you have to sell it, you have to like communicate it with so many other different people and company departments. So that changed the priority, and priority is like it can change every day. So task management is very important, and I completely understand everyone who is coming from university. They might not have that tool skills. Some people are lucky, their supervisor or somewhere else they have learned about that. But no matter of if you are in PhD or undergrad or grad or even like technical or a technical person, task management is fundamental importance, and there's no doubt that it is the first important of the, I can say, the skill that you have to learn in the like industry. I think in academia right now, if I go back to academia, I will use this task management as well, and I will teach my students to use that as well because it is very helpful. Right now, I'm even using my home activities that I write down the task and manage the task management. So it is everyday practice. And the idea is that you can do stuff without your brain being worried in other stuff. So if something is open, at night you will think how to solve it because you didn't put any end on that. But if you organize it in a way that you know that, for example, there is a specific time you will answer this question and what is the actions, and it is written somewhere, and you know that it is trustable. It will get back to you. You can see it. Then your mind get free, and you can put the other project away. Even so, they are also important. They are open. You can put them away and work the current project that you have. And this way you can work stressless, stress-free, and you can do more productivity, and you can manage life work balance because industry lives is like demanding, and especially if you go to like startups probably, and someone like us, like someone who is science, physics background, mathematics background, or something like that, the works are more very demanding, and you have to learn task management to avoid burnout and to be able to have the balance in life and work. And it's very helpful skill. And I'm happy that you asked that question because I had a lot to say.
No, that's great. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences. But just as a side note, I've known you for many years. I know you're very intelligent and hardworking, and I'm pretty sure you're doing a great job on that. So let me get back to this point that you touched on briefly, the time management part. So being agile, for example, changing priorities and things like that. So this is something that PhDs, don't learn in academia, that because during you have like 4 or 5 years to do your PhD, you manage your task, you sometimes deal with your supervisor and go back and forth and things like that, but you don't have tight deadlines for the most part. But as you said, when you transition to non-academic jobs, it's all about deadlines. Industry is about deadlines, right? So this time management is something that sometimes employers complain about PhDs because PhDs want to do the job perfectly, but the definition of done, the definition of success, right, is a lot different than what we had in academia. So industry is totally different. So I worked in a startup. I was a director. I worked with like PhDs. I had multiple PhDs on my team. So one of the most challenging things that I had to deal with as the team lead was exactly that. Because every time like we had a task to do from the higher ups, from the executive team, and then I tried to like split the work and get the project done. We always had that problem, that because the team members wanted to do their best work, right? Because they were so committed, they were so intelligent, of course. But but that level of perfection was not always needed, you know, to do the project, because we had to, for example, I'll give you an example. We had to deal with some like investors, pitch an idea to an investor. So we had like maybe 3 days to prepare a prototype, for example, and then prepare everything, prepare the presentations or reports and stuff like that. But a PhD would say that, oh, it's going to take like 2 months to do. No, you don't have that time in industry, right? I'm pretty happy you touched on that. Thank you very much. So, do you have something to add in about the time management?
Yeah, I can say that you said mostly important stuff, and that is correct. And in the industry, I can say that sometimes 70% working stuff is better than 100% working 2 months later. Like
Exactly.
it is, yeah, and the some precision is also as another matter. You define precision in different category in the industry. It is based on some standards, and it's not like based on guessing or based on like very perfection, like something small that we learned in the PhD to follow up very small details.
Mhm.
Sometimes in industry, you have to sacrifice it for the bigger picture and like find a easier maybe or more answer,
Simpler,
something
a
that's more
simpler,
reliable.
a
Yeah.
simpler solution. Yeah.
Yeah, simpler solution. And also it is, you have to see that your solution is commercially viable. Yeah, it is
Mhm, mhm,
valuable. Like
mhm,
the effort that you put always in the company, this is a device cost, that is the reward, resources cost, and there is a timing cost, and like how much time you need to put in this work. And then it is the comparative value that what you achieve. It should be meaningful. Like
mhm,
you cannot put so many hours on achieving something that commercially is not very viable
mhm,
today.
mhm,
So those are the, yeah, as you say, time management and those kind of skills are
mhm,
important. And we can learn from some different resources, and also we can learn by practice every day. I mean, it is
mhm,
very hard to change mentality because the environment is quite different in university and industry.
mhm, mhm. No, that's so true. And one thing that PhDs miss out on is that they typically wait until they graduate, and then they start learning these like project management soft skills soft skills after graduation, and that's sometimes just too late, because when you have graduated and you start building new skills, soft skill things that the industry needs, for example, it's not just industry. You want to get a job in consulting, for example, someone like me, for example, or in government, in nonprofits, right? So these are these are skills that you need to build as soon as possible, to be able to shorten that transition period from your graduation to your first landing your first role, right? So no, I'm happy that we are having these conversations based on your real experiences. So thank you very much. And the other thing you just touched on was uh, the career training programs that some universities provide. So as you saw, so I did a survey, and one of the questions was about these career training programs that some institutions, universities provide, and more than like 60% of respondents, and it wasn't like a global survey, right? It wasn't just in Canada. They said that they either don't have access to such training, career training programs in their universities, or they are somehow ineffective, right? So that's what this necessitates. The this makes it necessary actually for a PhD candidate, for example, to start building these skills before graduation and not wait until they graduate, right? So you are not talking about the things based on your real experiences, because you have dealt with the things, right? You have gone through that transition. So I appreciate that. So and one more thing about this project management and maybe teamwork skills that are so important. And have you ever encountered, for example, conflicting priorities? For example, we talked about the specs and requirements and things like that. So when you are given like a specific task and you deal with different stakeholders, some technical people and some non-technical people in your current role, for example, it can be your previous role. How do you deal with these things? How do you deal with conflicting priorities when it comes to conducting a project, doing a project? Have you ever noticed? Have you had any experiences like that?
Yeah, I have a lot those kind
A
of
lot? Okay.
conflicting because so I am kind of doing research-based work and
Mhm.
also approving or validating what it is production team is
Mhm.
like creating. So sometimes, for example, I'm assigned to do some future product simulation or
Mhm.
like debugging. Meanwhile, the current product has some issues. Something is not working.
Mhm.
And there are different departments. And my solution is that the company-wide solution. I mean, you
Mhm.
have to respect the company culture and the priority of the company. So that is the first priority of company will become my priority at that time. And I can talk to my manager as well to get advice on that subject. And sometimes it happens that I don't know which priority to choose to work. And I ask like my manager, which one is more priority today. And yeah, based on the requirement of the our production line, I manage my priority.
Okay, so I assume that soft skills like communication and conflict resolution and those skills helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
But you gain those experiences over time. So this is not something that you can learn overnight, right? So
Yeah,
it's
I want to say one addition thing when you're talking about the training course that you were saying.
Mhm.
I was taking some training at that time, but my mentality wasn't absorbing those things at that time. No? Right now that I have gone those paths, I know what is skills needed. What does it mean, this is skill even, how to apply it and it does kind of stuff. Because for us, we came from university and industry and we have difficulties over there and like it is our daily work routines right now. Right now I can absorb it, but at that time, even if somebody was explaining very detailed, maybe I wouldn't able to explain it. And in addition to that, I've seen some, for example, in our company also we have some co-op students, and that is very valuable.
Mhm.
Even if you do volunteer, if you do like a few months, like introducing yourself to environment of the work, like industry, if you're interested in the industry, or even in the like academia, working as a student or working as a like prof or other technician or other stuff is different. The you need some other set of skill sets. And yeah, you have to learn and practice every day to like become better.
Yeah, exactly. So, and not all PhD students have the chance to be exposed to industry during their PhD programs because, as you said, sometimes professors, supervisors have industry
Limited resources.
partnerships, and many of them don't, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why that makes it very hard for PhD students to learn about industry before graduation, right? So that is very important. So what advice would you give to PhDs who worry that their expertise may be too specialized for industry roles? And that goes back to those overqualification sometimes. So what
Yeah,
would be your advice on that?
yeah. I basically completely remember the days that I
Mhm.
was thinking like that, and
Mhm.
it was a stressful thinking that you think that you just know that this stuff and
Mhm.
you don't know
Mhm.
anything else, and that is not very true. The companies or like a job application that you apply, they are not looking at your specific technical skills. They are looking at your soft skills as well. I mean, the topic of that thesis or like your research is not very important. What is important is that you have the methodology. You know that how to solve complex problems, knowing basic rules, or how to get different people connected to something to achieve something. For example, when you're buying some stuff for your setup or those kind of stuff. And it is university itself is very high-tech environment. You have been introduced some ideas that lots of people don't have those kind of like experiences. Don't underestimate your skills. I think that you have the ability. First ability is that you can manage yourself to learn stuff fast. You can like understand the methods and the logic, how to think to solve the problem. You know that not always everything will going fine, so you have to change the direction, change the plan, and you don't panic because you have almost lots of problems in PhD that when those kind of problems comes up, you wouldn't panic because it is usual. You will change other direction. And that is very important skills. And the only thing is that you are very valuable. Your skills, soft skills, you have to put them in a good good vocabulary. You have to talk it very scientifically or like industry wise, general language, I mean, and also. The other things that I would say is that companies are dying for your skill sets. I mean, it is not like that they don't want you. They want your mentality that you're thinking person. You can critical think. You can a little bit of the
Problem solve, for example,
yeah,
solve
a little bit
problems.
of the training. You can learn lots of new topics, and
Mhm.
it is. I think even if you were supposed to work in that direction that you are right now, it wouldn't last for like few years because science and technology is developing. So it will be new things that you have to learn, and it is always like that. It is misleading to tell to us that we are specialized in just one direction. No, we are not. As a PhD, we are we learn how to comprehensively solve one problem, and in the company, we learn to not solve, but also how to scalable, how to commercial, periodize stuff differently, and how to make stuff to work for a long time, or like repeatable, or other standards that he applies in the industry environment. Yeah.
No, that's scalability is very important, as you said, because in PhDs, for example, we do research for the sake of publications or just doing the PhD and for the thesis basically. When it comes to industry, so you have to come up with scalable solutions, products that can be scaled, and that's a very valid point. So you mentioned this is going to be my last question. So something about critical thinking, as you mentioned. So what differences do you see between critical thinking in academia and industry? What's the difference? Are the fundamentals the same, or critical thinking in academia is different than critical thinking in industry? You basically touched on that briefly, but I was wondering if you can just open it up a little bit, elaborate on that, if possible.
Maybe the difference that I can attribute is coming also the difference of the environment and the requirement of the position. In the university, critical thinking. So even in the university, it is different from undergrad to grad, and different as people in different range has a different mentality. For a kid, for example, who is going new school, everything is new or discovery. But in the secondary schools, then it's not about the like everyday discovery. It is about the scientific follow-up. There's something that it has been discovered, and you are following up that research, and you are adding one step on that. And In industry, critical thinking mainly it is looking for new solution as well, but it also evaluating that your new solution or your new scientific solution, is it how much time consuming is, how much is valuable. A bit priority, I guess, in the industry is different, and it causes that you will like trouble yourself or challenge yourself in other areas as well. It is not just, for example, in university, you may have one physics equation and you critical think that how you can get the answer in different directions. But in industry, you will say that how I make something that it reached towards this result, but it is less results or maybe more productive results. It depends on the, of course, in the standards that you have to apply for that product. But it is the definition is a little bit different, what I'm saying. Yeah.
So basically, sometimes, critical thinking is about, for example, translating technical stuff to business impact, right? Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. Leila, is there anything else that you would like to talk about and I didn't ask?
No, and thank you so much for having this interview, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.